Most brochure tutorials start with boxes and colours, and that's why at the end they can feel messy. But in this tutorial I'm going to start with a blank document and go through all the decisions I make to make a clean professional layout. We're going to work in the same order as I use for professional projects, establishing a hierarchy. We're going to look at the print specs and the brief. We're going to set up a master page with our repeatable items. We're going to look at the colour palettes. We're going to go for the fonts and look at paragraph styles, and then we're going to go into the layout. And at the end, we'll do a pre-flight to make sure we don't get any comebacks when we hand off to the printer. And by the end of it, you'll have a workflow you can use for posters, flyers, brochures, and any other print items you want to make. So we're going to start off with the print specs I've received from the printer. So the document today we're going to make is a brochure. It's an A4 roll fold, and there's a flap which folds in. So as you can see here, you've got 97, 100, 100. So when it's opened, it's A4, which is 297 by 210. And obviously when it's folded in, it'll be 100 by 210 with the flap of 297. We're only going to work on the inside, so let's dive in. Now we're going to create the document. So I'm going to make a new document. I'm going to make it 100 width by 297. I'm going to go for 10mm margins, so this is my safe area to keep all my work within that. I'm going to add 3mm bleed all the way around. Slug I'm not going to worry about because that's if you want to put like a media bar on, which will not be needed. So I'm going to create that, and there you can see we've got our document. The purple line here is the 10mm safety area, and the red is the bleed. So what we need to do is go up to the pages, pull this out slightly. It's a parent page, so I'm going to click on this, and then if I go parent page options, it brings up this palette and you can see what it's called and how many pages. So that's my first page, which is my 100 by 297. I now want a page which is 97 by 297. So I'm going to make a new parent page. I've got a full tutorial on parent pages and I'll leave the link in the description. If you want to follow on, there's a free companion guide in the description for downloading. So I'm going to go new parent. So it populates it with parent B and it calls it parent still. I'm going to base this on parent A. So what this will mean is everything I put on parent A will pull through to parent B, which is what I want. And now I can edit the size. So this one's going to be 97. I'll okay that. So now we've got two parent pages. You can see parent A is already in the document. So if we just go back to our template, we can see for the inside, we want 100mm, 100mm, and then 97mm. So jump back into our document. This will be a good time to save it as well. I'll save it as, so what we'll do now is, like I said before, we've got 100, 100, 97. So we'll pull out another parent A. And as you can see, it's jumped below. So what we need to do is we need to select both of these and we need to turn both of these off. And now it'll allow me to place it next to it. So you get that little arrow. So I can drop that in there. And then parent B, I can drop there. So now we've got 100, 100 and 97, which makes up 297. And obviously, like I said before, the height is 210. We're going to come back to the parent pages later on when we set up our color palettes and other repeatable items we want to use. So next thing we're going to do is set up a color palette. I've created a markdown file which has all the information needed for this brochure. So I've got all the copy that I need, I've got the colors, and I've got the fonts that we're using. So what we're going to do now is, like I said, we're going to set up the color palette. So we will have one color palette and that will have the colors we need for every item that we use on this design. So we want a background color of 0, 100, 30, 0. We go into here. First thing I'll do though is get rid of the default colors that InDesign puts in. So I'll select all color, unused colors, and delete it. File, new color. What I like to do as well is keep name and color values checked, because then this populates and it's an easy reference. You can rename it to the brand colors if you want, like background, etc. But it's your choice. So back to here, so we've got 0, 10 and 30. 0, 10, 30 and 0. We've got a nice beige yellow colour, which is the background colour. What I'll do, just to show you, I will actually rename them. So I can deselect that and put background. So we've got our background colour. Go back to here. So we've got the text colours. We've got for headings, we've got 15, 30, 70 and 5. We've got 15, 30, 70 and 5. Check that. Yep, okay. And then again, we'll call that one headings. and then body copy is going to be black, so we can just use a default color black, which if I hover over it you can see the breakdown there. So now we've got our color palette set up. The next thing we'll move on to is paragraph styles and setting up our fonts. So let's go into the paragraph styles. So if you've not got it out, it's under type, and you've got character styles and paragraph styles. So we'll go new paragraph style, and then we'll call this one heading. There's so many different settings that I could do a whole tutorial on this, so let me know in the comments if you'd like a tutorial based just on paragraph styles. So once again, I'll go back to my document. So we've got Baskerville regular for the heading, so I'm going to type in that, and what we'll do is we'll start off at 14 point, and we'll leave the leading on auto, and which is will come out at 16.8. so we might have to go back and tweak this later on once we start putting the design together, but I always like to start at a good point and then we'll see. And then what we can do as well, we can just click through these, just have a little look, and then we'll set the color for the heading and we'll okay that. So now you can see we've got a heading populated in there. Next one we'll do is body copy, so we'll name it body. And then we'll go down, change the color, keep it as black, as we know it's going to be black. Fonts, we'll go to Avenir Book, so we'll type that in, Avenir Book, and we'll calm down to, and we'll reduce that to 10 point. But once again, we might have to change that later on once we start putting it together. But for now, that'll do. So we've got body and heading. So that is our color palette and our paragraph styles set up. Next thing we want to do is start looking at building the document. So we're looking at the layout. So I'm going to go back to the master pages, master page A, and I'm going to put the background on. Going to make sure that we flip that round, the heading, so we want to change that to background, and then I'm just going to draw a box over the trim, over the bleed. So now we've got that. So you can see, because I set parent B based on parent A, even parent B has got the background, which is exactly what we want. So we've got that starting off. Another thing I like to do is put some placeholders in, so then we can edit them when we get to the pages. So we'll put a heading placeholder, just call that heading. So now we can see it's quite small, so we can double click on that and change it. For some reason it's dropped back down to Minion, so we'll change that back to Baskerville. And then we'll make this, I don't know, 48 point for now. Looks good. Perhaps drop it down a little bit more. It's all going to depend on what copy goes in there, but just got to remember these are placeholders at the moment, so we can edit these after individually. So we could also make it left aligned or right aligned, depending on what you want. So alignment's left at the moment, you can make it centered, but for this I'm going to leave it left aligned and okay that. So now if I go back to the layout, you'll see that all of them have got that on there because it's running through the whole lot. So what we'll do, we'll go back to parent A, we'll put some placeholder copy for body, draw another box, and we'll just call that body. Then we'll go back into here and we'll hit body. 10 is a bit small once again, so we can go and adjust that. I think we'll make that 14, that's better, right. Again, once we start putting the design together, we might need to go and tweak this, but at least we've got a starting point. Once again, always save it, so it's Command S on a Mac, Control S on a PC. So what you can see here is a general layout with just placeholders. So now we can start actually putting the brochure together. So I'm going to start on the left hand side and I'm going to start building this. So what we need to do is we need to activate these boxes. So if you click Command Shift and then click, it'll actually activate them and it will unlock them. So now they're independent and you can change them. The main thing we've got for the background would be obviously the background color. That's something that repeats across everything, but all the other elements we can really just put on each page. But I just wanted to show you how master pages work, which are now called parent pages because it's changed. And as mentioned before, I've got a full tutorial on this, link in the description. So let's move these down. First thing I want to do is put some graphics in and then put my images in and start to build out the brochure. So I'm going to go to here. I've got this little leaf effect, which I'm going to drop on there. So as you can see, it's very big. So I'm going to reduce this considerably. Keep going. So I'm just going to rotate this. So holding down Shift, and then I'm just going to have that up there, just bleeding off slightly, something like that. So we've got that. Then I'm going to put the heading in. What I will do as well, which is always a good practice, is to set up some layers. So this one we'll call graphics. So So we've got that on the graphics. Then we'll have another one and we'll call this one copy. And what we can do is go back to the parent page, grab these and go back to layers and move them onto the copy page, and then go back to where we're working. And as you can see, because I unlocked it, it's still on the graphics, so we can just move that up to there, and then we'll make one more for images. Right, images, so rearrange that slightly. So we've got our 3 layers now. I won't do a background one because that's obviously on the master page and it'll be locked, and we won't need to adjust that, so we can do that. So back to my document, my headline copy, click that. I'm going to go up to type, change the case, make it uppercase. Preview mode, hit the W key so you can have a look at your layout at all times. Going to make that black just so the living part stands out. See, it's the right width for the safety. Going to adjust the leading so we can go into our paragraph styles. I'll make that 48. We can actually go, because it's in caps, you've got no descenders or ascenders, so we can make that a bit smaller, so we can go 40. That looks better, nice and tight now. Once again, we'll hit W on the keyboard to have a look, see what it looks like. So that's looking good. And we'll introduce our body copy section here. Again, I'm going to make that slightly bigger. So I'm just going to go into my body up here. I'll make that 18 point. Let that run on 21 on auto. One thing I want to do as well is take the hyphenation off. So we can go into here, keep options, hyphenation, and there you see it's not hyphenated anymore. So I'm just going to hit a soft return in there, which is shift and then return. And now we've got our heading and our body copy, and we can start designing the first page. So let's just make this leaf a little bit larger. I'm going to hold that down and just constrain it, and then go to preview mode to see what it looked like. So it looks pretty good. Save it again. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to actually have a little line to separate it. So I'm going to go to the line tool, hold down shift to constrain it. I'm going to put preview on again, and then I'm going to make that none, go onto the stroke, which is here, the heading the same colour, and then it's going to pump the stroke up. So we've got a little bit of a separator there. It's going to put it down slightly and make it a bit smaller. Right, and then we can move that up there. So that's looking quite nice now. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in the image. So I'm going to lock the graphics and the copy layer. I'm going to my desktop and put it on the pasteboard. There we see it. I can place that down here. I'm going to zoom out slightly just so I can see more of what's going on, a bit more. There we go. So I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to zoom out a bit more. See, what you can see here is I'm losing the image. So a little tip here is if you hit Command K, it brings up your preferences, and you've got various settings here, but we want to look for the pasteboard ones. So I can change this to say 500 by 500. And then we can see, now we can see the whole image, and it's much better for when you're working. So now I can zoom up and it doesn't get cut off. I can see exactly where I am. So I'm going to drop that down so I've got the bleed. It's going to close that up to there. And then if I hold that, I can then reposition it to get a nice shot in and even reduce it in size. Again, I've got Shift Command and I'm just scaling down. And then I can bring it back over to there. And we've got more of the image now. Preview mode. Going to put it over slightly to there. So I think that's quite nice. Now we've got like the frontage of the property. We've got frontage of the development now. You can see it like that. Guides back on so we can see everything's aligned nicely. So we've got everything hanging off of that 10mm line there. Preview. So that's the first page done with the inside. I'm going to save that again, and then we'll look at doing the middle page. So again, I'm going to shift. So now I'm going to now I'm going to lock the images. I'm going to work on the second page now. So I'm going to click shift, and then just move that down. Go back and zone the guides, and then we're going to bring in the logo. So we want the graphics layer. It can get a bit fiddly, but it makes it a lot more sense because obviously you won't drag things by accident. So then we'll go to the icons. We've got lots of different ones here for the different elements, but that's the one I want, is the actual monogram. Click that. Once again, you can see it's massive, so I'm going to reduce that. 60 is too big still, so 20% on that. That's looking more like it. We can place that in here. I'll go up to here and make sure this is on a line to page, and then just center that. And that was a good guess because it's gone straight in. It was already centered. Nice preview there. I'm going to push this up slightly so it hangs off the top there, which is the guide, the 10mm. So now we're starting to come together. Back to the preview mode off, back to working mode, and then I'm just going to go onto the copy mode and then put in the copy. So once again, go to my document with a copy that in, select all, type, change case, uppercase. There we go, and then we've got that. We've got to make that black again, so we'll go up to there, make sure text is highlighted and click on that. The little thing I like to do as well is when we've got these text boxes selected, Command B on the keyboard, which brings up the text frame options, baseline options, and always set that to cap height. OK that. And then if you hit Command, Option and C, it will close up the boxes. So it's tight on the text. It just makes it a bit neater when you're working. So this time we want this centered. So I'm going to go over to Paragraphs and hit Centered. And then we can move that up slightly as well. We're going to make this one a bit smaller. So there's two ways of doing it. You can scale it, but I always find the quickest way is just to grab hold of the Shift and Command and then just turn it down like that. Push that up to there. So we've got a nice little center section coming together. Let's work on this bit now. Next bit of copy. So we'll have that center as well, centered, and I'll go back to my document again. Next lump of copy, copy that in. There we have it. Change the line breaks to make it look a bit more aesthetically pleasing. I'm going to zoom up, and then again we can just put that up there like that. Take the guides off, and then we can play about with spacings once we've got to a good point. But for now, we'll just sit it there. Zoom out slightly. We'll now put the next image in, which is an interior shot. So once again, we'll go and grab the image. That's the exterior. Got the bedroom, our exterior. So we'll go for that one. We'll drop the living room shot in. So we'll click on that. This one you'll see is not as big. So we'll go to here. Just close it up, and then we'll adjust this as needed, something like that. And we're going to move that up because we want something underneath. Again, the same thing works here. If I hit Option Command C, it will go to the full length of the image, but we don't want that in this instance. We want it to come down to the actual image like that. Put that up to there. So we're starting to build a bit of a layout now, which is starting to look nice. Again, if you don't like what you see in there, you can hold that down and reposition, which I'm going to do here. Just going to zoom up a little bit, tweak it slightly, just to give a better idea of what's in the apartment. Go back to the preview mode. Now I'm going to put a save in there. Just going to tweak it slightly because I didn't like that coming in that side there. Right, so we've got that. So next thing we're going to do is work on the bottom part here. So I'm going to zoom up to that. Deselect the preview mode. I'm going to go and grab my icons. So there's these three here. So I'm going to get them all at once and then just click, click, click. So they're all being placed at the same time. Now I can make sure they're all selected and scale them all down at once. So we'll go for 10%. And as I had it marked up here, that was the reference point. It's scaled from that point there. So let's have a look to see how these look. They might be too big. I think they are. So we're going to go slightly smaller. So we'll go 85%. And then we'll just separate them like this. Still too big, so I'm going to select them all and make them a bit smaller, 80%, and then we'll just pull them around. Then I'll just move them to separate them so I can see what they are. So we're going to have the location one this side, going to have the amenities, and then sustainable living in the middle. As you can see, they're different sizes at the moment, so I'm just going to drag down a guide, and then we're going to make them all the same size. When these were generated, they were generated at different sizes. So move that one down to there, and then we'll scale that one down. And there you see we've got all there. So what we need to do now is obviously make sure that the spacing is correct between them. So quick and easy way to do this. So that's not quite small enough, so let's reduce that one slightly. There we go. Right, so now we need to get the spacings correct. So a quick and easy way to do this is to grab a shape and just toggle over there. What we'll make it so we can see what it is. Go over to there, we'll change the colour to black, and just to reduce the opacity so we can see what's going on. So what we'll do now, we'll copy it by holding down Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and we'll just make 3 of them in total. So now what we need to do is select them all, and then if we hit that one there, it will distribute them to the page, which is not what we want. We actually want the margins. So we can click on that one and it's just jumped over to there. So now we can see that these are all in the same place with equal space in here. Quite a good guess because I got them in the right position anyway. So we can now delete that, go into preview mode, just zoom out and see what it's looking like. So yeah, it's coming together quite nicely now. So now I think what we're missing is some divider lines. So we can grab this one here, Option on a Mac, put it down. And I'm not going to make this as thick, so I'm going to go to 2 point and then just rotate that. And then we'll just have that between to separate those out, which looks quite nice. Once again, we can apply what we did last time to make sure they're the same distance, but I'm quite happy just eyeballing these in for now. So what I'll do now is I'll lock the images layer and the copy layer, and then I'm quite happy with the position for these. So I'm going to actually lock these as well. So it's Command L on the keyboard, and I can just zoom out slightly, and then just, if I need to, just tweak these slightly, just move them visually to make them look like they're centered, which looks good now. So if you've locked something by Command or Control L, to unlock it you hit Command Option or Control Option L, and then it will make them come to life again. But I'm going to lock those because we don't need to move those. Right, now we want to put some titles down here. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to copy the text layer here. Click on that, hold down Alt again on a PC or Option on a Mac. Then we're going to go back to my little pad with all my copy on, and we're going to go Premium Amenities. So put that one in there. It's going to go on 2 lines. And then we're going to make it, you've guessed it, caps. And we're actually going to reduce the size of this because it is quite big. So we're going to reduce that, and then we'll stick that under there. Again, I still think that's too. Go back to the old trick, Command B, make that cap height, and just close that up. And then I still think that's quite large, so we're going to go a bit smaller still. So this way I'm just going to center it off and do it in the percentage here. Nice. And then for this one, we didn't set up a style sheet for this, but because it says it's body, but what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go and make it ambient medium, and just so it punches out a little bit, and then make sure we're on the baseline. Actually, we can come up a little bit to there, is hold down Option and then Shift to constrain it, and then we'll go for the next one, which is sustainable living. We might find out we've got to reduce the size of these once they're all in because they might be too long, but we can have a look at that after. Double click on that, paste that in. Once again, make it caps. You can set up shortcuts and quick keys for this, but for this tutorial I'm just doing it manually to give you more of a feel of how things get put together. But when I'm working, I do actually use a lot of shortcuts. I've actually got videos that go into more details regarding shortcuts, which I'll actually put in the description at the end, so you can obviously have a look at that if you want to. And then we'll click that one there, prime location, and we'll go up there again for the last time, take that off, and we can just make sure it's centered. Great, so we can zoom out. So we're starting to get a little brochure together here. Now we've got the last page. So what I'm going to do for this one is only going to be images and a bit of copy in the middle. So we'll do the copy first. Once again, Shift and Command to release that. Go back into my pad, copy that out, paste that in. So what we need to do is here to turn the hyphenation off, which is done. Make that caps. You can see it's miles too big. So I'm going to put that on again. Pull the text box out. You can see that that's massive. So what we'll do this time, we're actually going to reduce it because I want this on one line. So it's going to go quite a lot smaller than the other ones, but it will look better once it's reduced to fit on one line. And then we can center that on the page and then ensure it's centered in the text box as well. That can come down to here, and then I'm going to change the color of that as well. That's going to be black. So make sure we've got the text selected and go to black and click that. Get rid of that one, and then we'll copy that over because it's already got the centered and everything I want, so I can put that in there. As you see here, it's a bit wider because this is a smaller panel. This is the 97 rather than the 100, so that's why it's a bit smaller. Go back to the copy that in. I'm just going to save again after I've previewed it. Zoom out a little bit. One thing you need to do is save regularly, because if it suddenly crashes you're going to lose all your work, and it's not much fun, believe me, because I've done it in the past. But now I always make sure that I'm regularly saving, and that way if something happens, you lose connection or your Mac crashes, you end up with all your work still rather than losing everything. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the images on the last page. So go back to our folder. So we want the bedroom one, we want a garden one, and we want the exterior one. So grab those three. Again, I'm going to stick them on my desktop just like that. And we can reduce those 40% for now. And then we can start placing these wherever we want them. Bedroom one, I think will go down there. This is going to be rough placements for now. I always find that when you're placing images, it's better to go in preview mode because it's a lot clearer to see what you're doing. And then you can obviously adjust things after. So yeah, I think that looks nice. Can even make that a bit deeper. And then we'll just enlarge the image. That's looking good now, I like that. We can turn the preview off and make sure we've got the bleed. There we are to the bleed. You can see here if I zoom up that obviously the background's gone beyond the bleed, but that doesn't really matter because it will get trimmed off and it's on the master page. But for this instance, I've just moved this to the actual proper trim, to the proper bleed. Zoom back out again. Right, so we're gonna have this one here, pull that into the air. Again, I'm just gonna go to the actual trim first so I can get them in. This one here, zoom up again. You can also use this if you put it to page and then I can click there and it will go to the trim. And I can close this up again and then zoom out. These ones I don't want as deep, so I'm gonna go something like that. So actually we'll make it a round number, so if we go 43 in there and then make that one 43 as well, We can then move them down, position them nicely with a little space. Hold it down again so we can move up. So obviously we want to show the bed for it's a bedroom shot. And then this one here, just show a bit the outside area. Lovely, so there we go. And then we can change the spacing slightly to make it a bit closer, which looks nice. So what you can do as well, which is good design practice, is make it fluid. So obviously we've got like a line here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually move this one up. And now when you open it up, it kind of like blends in, which looks a lot better. So let's zoom up again. Lock that for a minute. I'm just going to get my copy here, move that a bit closer, and then we'll have this centered within the two images. So we're looking pretty good now. So we'll just zoom out a bit. You might see that I'm zooming in and out a bit, but it's to get the feel of the page. So when you're working up close, you don't get the overall benefit of looking at it, but when you zoom in and out, you can obviously look at what you're doing, you can make more judgment, and things come together a lot better. So I'm just going to play with this a little bit here because the spacing's not great here. So we'll just move that down there and we'll pop that up a bit like that. And now we've got a bit of better separation, which I think is a lot better and a lot nicer. So that is the build. So I have only done, obviously, like I said at the beginning, the inside of the brochure here. If you'd like another tutorial on part 2, which would be the outside, then please comment part 2 down below and I'll be happy to make one of that, going into more detail. And let me know if there's any questions or concerns that you've got, or anything you'd like to see. So now we go into the pre-flight, which is one of the most important parts before we hand off the files to the printer, to make sure that all the resolution is correct and everything is going to print as expected. So if we go down to here, we can see I've got a pre-flight profile loaded, which is the basic one, and it's saying no errors. So I can click on that and open the pre-flight panel. I've got a full tutorial on setting up pre-flight, so I'm not going to go into it in this video, but it's got the basic one on, which you can see has got no errors flagging. But if it was going to print, which it will be later, I will actually be setting up a proper profile. So check the video in the description where I go through this in more detail. So that's it. The inside of the brochure is now complete. Once you follow these easy steps, you can create flyers, brochures, or anything else you'd like, print and digital. But obviously you need to make sure that you do the pre-flight at the end if it's for print. Don't forget to download the companion guide as a reference, so when you're doing this yourself you can use that as a guide. This is the workflow you need to follow. Design first, decoration second, and if you do, then this will be a repeatable system you can use over and over again. If this has helped, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more workflow tips and tricks. And just before you go, check out the next video here. And like always, thanks and keep creating.